to choose which subjects to take for school, my mother insisted that if I wanted to study law, English literature would be one of the most helpful subjects to take. Considering it was a subject that involved mainly reading lengthy novels and analyzing impossible poetry, you can imagine that the number of students that would take the subject would be, well, minimal. To be precise, there are 2 students in my class, including me. The subject was not the most exciting choice one could make, but there was something about poetry that I had fallen in love with. Every aspect of a poem, from its tower-like structure to its intentional use of plosive sounds, contributes to the hidden meaning of the poem. It tells a story and gives a perspective from every single angle. The most influential poets that rose to fame during this time were Rupi Kaur and Atticus, whose poems told stories about life and love. The relatable stories gave readers strength, such as one of Atticus's fans who expressed how his poetry helped her gather the strength to walk away from an abusive relationship. I was truly inspired by the fact that they had used the power of poetry to impact people's lives, and I wanted to be able to create my own poetry in order to utilize it as a voice to speak for those who have none. My name is Kiasha Chetty, and I am part of the 10 in Summerhill group, and today I would like to introduce to the world my poetry with a purpose. I came across a powerful quote the other day by fashion designer Diane van Furstenberg that read, "I have always believed that when you have a voice, you have an obligation to use that voice to empower others. One of the most powerful tools we possess in life are words, as they have the power to make or break wars, nations, and dare I say, the world. Words have the power to make or break the world, and coming from a generation that finally has the opportunity to liberally use freedom of speech, I want to use words to change the world and bring light to situations that are silenced far too often." How many social media posts tend to bring to light the brutality of rape? How many people in power use their influential words to discuss the inequalities of races all around the world? How often are gender issue discussions openly televised? I want to use poetry to open a platform for these type of topics to be discussed, because when given a voice, we must let it sing when others can only whisper. As a child born into post-apartheid South Africa, I was privileged to be able to grow up into the blossoming Rainbow Nation, where I had the opportunity to surround myself with children of all races. You would think that growing up into a world that had become so open to diversity, that all opportunities and situations would be equal for all people of every ethnicity, right? The truth is that certain racial groups in our society still struggle from the world's past race issues. For example, the unlawful shootings of African Americans in the United States. Studies show that Black men are 3 times more likely to get killed by the police than that of white men. Due to these horrific statistics, African Americans took matters into their own hands by creating the Black Lives Matter campaign, which spread wide popularity all across America, as well as the rest of the world. A case that truly affected me involved a 12-year-old boy. A 12-year-old boy named Jameer Rice, who lived in Cleveland, Ohio, was shot by a police officer for holding a plastic gun. Do we still fear one another's race to such an extent that we would see a 12-year-old boy as a threat? This tragic case falls into the category of the many African Americans that are killed on a day-to-day basis due to racial profiling, often without substantiation, and we tend to turn a blind eye to the cases of the Jameers that are not broadcasted on the news. Recently, I wrote a poem that was inspired by such events dealing with the African American shootings that need to be voiced. Anthem for Black America. It is impossible to be unarmed when my blackness is the weapon you fear. Pastor Tracy Blackmon. Oh, say, can you see America the brave, the land of the free, shown so prominently on TV? Can you see them strangle the rights of all of their inhabitants to live? sun and smiling at the sky. But Samir Rice has his 12-year-old body lying in a pool of blood, staring at the heavens, afraid of what was to come. The plastic gun in his hand was seen as a threat, but we know that the police officer saw the color of his gun painted on this boy's skin, and that was the most serious threat of all. America yells from their privileged podium, "We must stop gun violence!" while they order their police to end this violence with a gun. With this gun, a navy black hue, who else to associate it with better than the black few? Hidden behind a helmet of ignorance, sir, did you even see who you killed? Whether it was a young black boy or an adult fully grown, you tore through a human's life based on fear of skin tone. If a man's blackness is what gets him shot, then let it be that the white man's blindness is what keeps him on top. Now you may ponder as to why an Indian girl living in South Africa is choosing to comment on the situation of black people living in the United States. Well, my answer is simple. I am a human being. Those African Americans being killed were human too, and I feel as a human being it is my duty to speak out for the injustices done to them. How I feel about this crisis is how I want my poetry to connect people. I want human beings to connect with one another enough that a page of structured words can help inspire them to stand up and unite with one another, no matter their differences. People in this day and age are so disconnected. I want these poems to reawaken humanity. After all, who are we as human